Hello and welcome, Daniela. So
You.
glad to have you. Yes, I invited you to speak with us today about traditional Chinese medicine, about your path with it, and especially about the organs, about the flow of qi and the relations to emotions. Yes, I would love to dive right in, and maybe you can start with telling us a bit about yourself, about your path, how you got to the Chinese medicine, and how it's flourishing your life now.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super happy to share about my experience, and I can see how it's very related to the things that you do as well. So yeah, hopefully it resonates, or you or someone learned something new today. So my path started really when I was 2 years old. My parents would, I was a very sick baby. So my parents will use a lot of antibiotics and anti-allergics to get my body healed somehow. And of course, they would just use tons of normal pharma. And that pharma ended up getting me really sick to the point that I got a very severe tumor in my neck. So I was a 2 year old with a big, huge neck on the side. And that really opened the eyes of my parents. And after that, that changed everything in my family. So that's where I really start a journey of cleansing my body, connecting with food, using food as medicine. And my parents became the first vegans in town, the first ones that were eat fruits and vegetables. And I was the first kids really eating vegetables. No one was eating vegetables around, especially from South America. And I grew up next to my mom, learning so much about health, diets, detoxing, natural medicine, homeopathy. So that was something that I would really, really look up for. After I was in high school, I was like, people were asking me what you want to study. And I was, well, I want to be a shaman, like I was always very surrounded with like indigenous people, and my parents were very alternative. So this is something that was already on my field. And I was planning to study homeopathy. Homeopathy was really in my field because I wanted to go to a perfect, nice, organized country like Germany. And it was really hard to get there in terms of visa, student visa. So I ended up getting the easiest visa, which was the Chinese visa, and end up going to China. When I was in China, I went to the museum. They were providing scholarships, and um, they were providing scholarships for traditional Chinese medicine. So I was like, wow, this sounds interesting. I wasn't really sure what it was about. So I felt like life was taking me there. Like I was just following the flow. And I ended up applying for the scholarship and staying there. And my mom was like, yeah, just try it for a year. And I didn't just try it, I completely fall in love with it because the miracles that I would see every day. It was so amazing. And actually, before I go to China, while I was waiting for the visas and all the process, I was studying psychology. So this is so interesting because you're very interested in chi and emotions. And when I did 3 semesters of psychology, and I was like, oh, I don't think they're getting the human being. I don't think they're understanding the human being in the Western point of view. And when I got to Chinese medicine, and I saw that they really put attention on emotions and spirits and the body and how they all connected, I was like, wow, this is interesting. Now we're talking. Okay, what's going on? And I ate all the books about emotions. I ate all the books about spirits and what they had to say about that. So I got to really immerse in that world as well. Till now, I actually use it a lot, especially with my patients, and most of my patients are in the mental health world. And for us, it's a very interesting the way they understand it and they use it. So the way they would understand emotions, it's like they see the body in three types, right? So one is the physical, right? The one that we can touch and see. And then the one is the spiritual, which is a ethereal soul, or the soul, like what we know as a soul. And the third one is the emotions, right? And the emotions is the way we interact with the world, right? So the soul, it's the way like bring us the consciousness of the human or the being that we are. But the emotions is how we interact and how we go through life, right? And the organs is the way it functions. So all three is the same thing, but it's divided in three aspects. So I always say, okay, I am a Chinese medicine doctor, I will send you medicine. But if we only reach out on the physical aspect and we don't treat the emotional or the physical or the spiritual, then we're not doing the full work, or you probably won't get healed. So we always have to address all of them. And that's why some people go to therapy and they try to treat the emotion and they get healed from diseases, right? And that's why some people go to gurus or to do Kundalini awakening or moving their energy, and then they get healed spiritually, right? And so there's many ways to get healed, not only one way to go. If they ask me, I would say address all three, right? Address the physical, address the emotions, and address the spirit, right? So the way it works is that in Chinese medicine we have five main organs, right? It's like, imagine a business, and a business have five departments, right? Each department has a different function, and each department has a manager, right? So that's how it works. Our body is like a business, or in Chinese medicine, the ancient books, they call it a kingdom or like an empire. In that kingdom there is five departments. Each department there is a representative, and this representative are the organs. So in each organ there is an emotion, in each organ there is a spirit, right? So we'll have the organs. We have liver, right? Or wood, right? Which also each department is represented by an element as well. So there are different things that can help us to relate, right? So there's an element, there's an organ, and there's an emotion. So we have wood with liver, we have fire with heart, we have earth with spleen, we have metal with lungs, and we have water with kidneys, right? So each organ will have a specific function. Is there a question?
No, no, this is just because you lifted your hand.
Okay. I was like, what's even? Okay, so each organ has a specific function, right? We can go through the functions. I don't know if we have enough time for it, but each one is in charge, like for example spleen, which is earth, is in charge of nutrition, right? Digestion, movement. And the emotion of the earth is the intellect. So it means like when we get nourished enough, right, and we will absorb nutrients, we're also able to be focused and to think, right? It's intellectuality. And it's also in Chinese medicine, it's called yi, right, which is thinking or worry, right? For us, being worried, like some of the emotions are the hands keeps showing up because I have my hands. Some of the emotions are not always taken into the negative form, right? So it means like if I say worry in Chinese medicine, worry has two meanings, right? We need to be worried in order to take care of things that are happening in our life. But if we over worry, it's where it becomes negative, right? It's the same. We have the element of metal, right? Which is lungs, and lungs represent sadness and grief, right? And sadness for us could mean negative emotion, but actually being sad in the right moments, it's actually healthy. But if we are sad for way too long, then it's when it gets out of balance, right? Even also for wood, the element of wood has liver, and the emotion is anger, right? So anger also, we see it as a very negative emotion, but actually we need anger to really put boundaries, or to really go for the things and have courage, and for things that we need. But we're angry every day and all the time. That's also gonna bring imbalance into our body, to our spirit, to our organs, right? Then we have the heart. The heart is really special because it's the element of fire, and it represents the Shen, which is the mind, or the consciousness, right? And it's its emotion is joy, so the ability of feeling joy. So even joy is something very positive for us. Having joy, too much joy, can actually unbalance our body as well. So it's so interesting of like not too much, not too less. And that's why in Chinese medicine everything is based on Taoism, right? And Taoism is the yin yang, right, which we most of us have seen before. And the yin yang, it's always telling us to bring balance on everything that we do, and everything in every aspect of our life. So every concept in Chinese medicine would always be based on the balance, right? And the last one will be kidney. And kidney, it's the element of water, and the emotion, it's worry, right? So we need to be worried for us to survive, right? For us to keep ourselves safe, for us to not go into danger, right? So it's the organ that confronts danger and feels the fear, right? Actually, worry, it's spleen, and kidney, it's a fear. That's that word I was translating in my mind. But yeah, fear. So there's something interesting. I think we were talking about this before, and how this emotions are affecting the organs, or how they move around the body. So for us, there is actually a mechanical way they function. Like for us, if a person has fear, it means that the chi, it's sinking, right? It means it goes downwards. And that's why when you have fear, you feel like urinating, or you feel like pooing, right? Because it literally our chi just goes down, and it's like it forces its weight down. And if you see people, like if you see the animations, the face turns white because the circulation goes down, so then you don't have circulation in the face. So that's how fear affects us, right? So if we want, yeah.
It's also so clear from our this day modern perspective of from what we know of how the physiologically the body is built and where the glands are sitting, where's the kidneys, like we have the adrenals right at the kidneys, right, which are producing the adrenaline and cortisol. So of course this
For fight and flight.
is related to the kidneys, right? And that's so
Yeah.
beautiful how we
Yeah.
find out now more and more, as in Ayurveda as well, as I'm trained in Ayurveda, that modern medicine finds out more and more how these ancient truths are absolutely viable. Yeah.
They're amazing. I mean, kidney for me is one of the most interesting organs, and I can talk hours about it. Like kidney, if you see, is right in between our umbilicus, right? So if you put your hands in the umbilicus is where life enters. So these organs are holding life, right? And the remember that we have an emotion, a spirit, and the physical organ. And the spirit of this organ is called the chi, and the chi is set to hi. Chi means the willpower. I want to live. I want to be here, right? But then it's emotion, it's fear, right? But the reason it's fear is because if I want to leave, I have to keep myself safe, right? So it's so interesting how it has its own mechanism of being there. So it's the one that deals with shock and fight and flight, and the ones that keep us alive. Like if we are in fight and flight, we can do superpower things, right? So this organ is the one that makes us uh, do that. But if we are in fight or flight way too long, it also is an organ that can be depleted. And sometimes people that go to traumas when they're little, right, and they are in fight and flight for many, many days, for many months, then later they're adults and they just don't feel like living anymore. And the reason that is happening is because their zhi, which is their spirit, gets depleted, gets affected, gets deficient, right? And that's what we work usually with mental health patients, is to really tonify this organ and to support the zhi, which is the spirit of the kidney, to make it nourish back again. And when it's nourished, then it can function properly, and then we can feel more safe, right? So it's a very interesting.
And yes, beautiful. And which then affects the other organs again, right? If you are in fight or flight, if you are like producing so much adrenaline, so much cortisol, it will then affect all the other organs, especially the liver, where all this has to be how to say detoxified again, because these are The liver is our main detoxifier in the body, right? And then, of course, it would produce anger because if the liver is overburdened out of too much fear, out of too much detoxifying these hormones,
Yeah.
then you get into anger sometimes, right?
Yes, yes. So the way it works in terms of relationship is that imagine them, they are in like I have a picture, but usually they are in a circle, right? And then they have a generation mechanism in the way that there is the mom and son, mom and son, mom and son. It means I need cacao to make chocolate, right? So if I have kidney here and the kidney is imbalanced, then the liver comes after, right? So the kidney is the mother of the liver. If kidney is not in good place, the liver is going to be unbalanced on
Mm.
its own, right? And the liver is also super interesting organ, as you were saying, because it's not only the detox center of the body, but also holds the spirit of Hun, right? Hun. And it's a very beautiful spirit because it's the spirit, we say it's the spirit that come with us and goes with to us to heaven, right? There's spirits like, for example, the long spirit is the spirit that only comes when we take our breath, and when our breath is gone, then it leaves. It leaves with matter, right? But the Hun is the spirit that comes from heaven and goes back to heaven with us. So it's really the spirit concept that we know today. And this, the Hun, it's is their unconscious, right? It's everything that we save in the back that we can't deal with it, and that's why it's connected with trauma, right? And it's connected with all the things that we fear and all the things that we were in fight or flight motions, because then the liver will have to like take that and save it. But at some point it would first affect the organ functions, right, and affect the detox process. And that's why we need to detox constantly, because it probably got affected and cannot detox naturally anymore if the circulation gets blocked and all the processes get blocked. And second, it's where things sometimes will just end up coming out without of control because it's the unconscious, right? So it shows up in our dreams a lot. It shows up in nightmares as well. It shows up in our psychic, right? Every time we are connected with the spiritual realm, it's there, right? So it's a very, very interesting organ and spirit. And its emotion, it's anger. But anger, it's in order to put boundaries, to get the courage to go for the things that we want, because the spirit is the one that give us the inspiration of what we want in this life, what we want to be, right? So if we have anger, we have the courage of like, I'm gonna go for this, this is my dream, right? This is what I desire, right? So it comes from here. So it's a very interesting because it has the traumas, but it also has our desires. So it's a very, very interesting one. And when we have anger, talking about direction, so anger for fear, it goes downwards, right? So we pee and poo when we're scared. And with anger is the opposite. So it goes upwards. So if you notice when a person gets angry or when an animation cartoon gets angry, what happens?
They turn red.
The face red, right? Because it moves up. And when we get angry, you feel your face heated. So the anger goes upward. So every time I see people with without headaches, or every time we see like red pimples around the head or the face, we know that the liver is bringing up that is the chi, bringing the chi up, right? And not harmonious way. So every usually we use the liver to treat like headaches or things around the head, things in the face. Anything related to the face would also be also related with liver, especially liver, hun, liver or traumas or things coming out, detoxing as well, because it's the detox of the body. So it's very common when we're detoxing, having pimples, super common because the toxins are coming out. So it's a normal part of the process as well.
Very.
Um,
Then the lungs and the heart. I just want to express how beautiful it is that the heart is related to consciousness. I just love that so, so much. And it just like resonates so much with this Kundalini awakening journey. And then the lungs is just, I just can't help but wanting to express that when we breathe with our full capacity of the lungs, then we release all sadness, right? But if the lungs are compromised and we have a shallow breath, of course, then sadness occurs. Don't take
Yes, yeah,
life in fully.
yeah, yeah. So that's so remember they are in a circle. So
Yeah.
they have the relationship of mother and son. And then they have also a different type of relationship, which is husband and wife, right? So the heart, it's husband and wife with the lungs, right? So there's a star connection, right? So there's this one generation and there's support, which is like a star, right? So heart and lungs are directly connected. So if you see heart, and then they also kind of, if you see in the position of the body, the heart is in the middle and the lungs are right next to it. So
Mhm.
they come together somehow. They're very, very close to each other. And when the heart it's affected, also the lung it's have the tendency to be affected. Lungs have are the ability of us to is the spirit of the po, right? The one I was saying, which is the spirit of the physical body, right? Is the one that actually make us it's what we identify our body and ourself to be, right? So this, Daniela, how we look, how we breathe, right? Like the connection of the breath. And it, as I said before, the po only enters in a first breath. So basically, the the po only expresses through breath. Breathing, it's po. That's the actual. So it's a spirit itself making that action. And the breath, the way we breathe, it would affect the way we feel as well, as you were saying, because they are very, very much connected. And through the breath, the reason we breathe is because we want to take the chi from the air, right? We call it heaven chi, which is chi from the universe. So that's where also qigong comes in, because qigong it's a practice that it's all about the breath and very still motion movements, right? So the ideal of qigong is to take chi, like it's kind of like a magical kind of thing that we do. Is like we consciously want to take chi from the universe and bring it
What,
into our.
sorry,
Mhm.
I want to throw that in. Chi would translate into prana, into the life force energy.
Life force energy,
And we
exactly.
connect the
Ex-
dots between our
exactly.
two worlds, which are the
Exactly.
same. Which are
Exactly.
the
It's exactly the same. So chi, it's usually what we are made of, but there's different types of chi in Chinese medicine, and there are some chi easier to get than others, right? So the air chi, it's really easy to get, and the more pure the chi is, the better for us. So that's why when we go to a cliff, for example, and we breathe it on in, there's like such a pure chi. Instead of when you go to a city, right, and there's no nature around, the chi is probably low and low quality, right? So natures you always have the most purest chi, and that's probably where it comes all the nutrition and food, right? The more pure chi and the less processed your food is, the better, the more chi you will receive as you eat, right? So for the lungs, it's the same. It's like its purpose is to absorb chi and bring it into the body. So when we have chi, we can have life, and also we can produce blood. And for why blood, it's very important. It's very important for the organ of the heart, because the heart, its function, its circulation of blood. So the heart, the most important thing for the heart is the blood, right? And if we have enough blood, then we also have the ability to feel joy, which is the emotion. And then earth, the spirit is the shen, right? And the shen is the consciousness, is the mind, is the one that they call it the emperor of all emotions. And it's really what we identifies ourselves to be. It's like our personality, it's who we are, it's our awareness, it's where when we're awake, it's that's our shen. Our shen, it's like the whole thing that we are, and the shen it's able to manage the other emotions. That's why it's mostly the most important one. But the shen can only be in peace and in balance if there's enough blood. So if we don't have enough blood coming from liver, right? So it's supposed to be kidney, liver, heart. If the blood doesn't come enough from liver, then our heart would not be happy. And that's why when the liver is stuck, too much traumas, too many things saved in the unconscious, it's not going to move the blood to the heart cannot feel joy, right? So that's how the things work. So usually when I want to work with mental health patients, what I do is that we tonify the blood production. And for example, I'll ask you a question. When you are the happiest, when you are living your fullest, how does your heart feel physically?
Open, soft, wide.
White. That's exactly the word. So basically, your heart nourished so much with blood that you feel it grows,
Mm.
right? So the more blood it's in your heart, the more happy you can be. So that's one of the things.
And
Yeah.
and so interesting because I recently learned that the thymus gland, it usually shrinks as we get older, but as we work with our emotions, with our Kundalini energy, it grows again, right? It can actually
Yeah.
physically grow again, which is related to the heart, right?
It can definitely grow if we bring the circulation to it. I think it would probably shrink just because we get affected through life and through all our situations, and we go through troubles and problems. But yeah, I feel nourishing with circulation, which could be awakening the kundalini and moving the energy around that area, can really really open it up. And yeah, for sure, for sure. I was saying something. So the yeah, so as long as the heart feels fully nourished with blood, then the shen can really take in. The shen feels the most comfortable, and then you have the ability to feel the most amount of joy. So when I see people that are in mental health, again, situations, then first we activate the liver to bring the blood to the heart. And then I also tell them, go and do the things that make you happy. Because not only if I give you herbs to activate your blood production, that's not the only thing that's going to work. If you do something that makes you truly happy, just being with family member, just being with a friend, go and laugh, go and dance, or go in the middle of nature, what makes you the most happy, that will bring also a lot of nourishment. And again, like therapies like Kundalini awakening can also be it, right? Because activating the circulation of that area can also bring the circulation of blood and activate the heart and tonify it and bring joy back, right? So that could also be as well. So we talked about kidney, liver, heart, lungs, right? So they are very much together because without a breath, we cannot have chi. Without chi, we cannot have blood production. Without blood production, we cannot have joy, right? So they are very much linked, right? Also, the lungs are they represent metal. So metal is a very rare element, right? When we think about metal, it's like what are you talking about? So we literally talk about the minerals in the earth, right? Anything that like literally metal, all types of metals, copper, all the metal. I don't really know all the names. But metal basically puts a boundary between what's earth and what it's metal. So they literally means boundaries, or what can I take and what I can let go. That's why the lungs also represent, or it's connected with the large intestine, right? Because large intestine is the bowels, right? What am I letting go? What am I using? Am I taking the water from this food? Am I letting go the waste, right? Same with the lungs. I'm taking oxygen, I'm releasing carbon dioxide, right? So it's all about letting in and letting, like, what do I take, what I let go. So that's why sadness and grief, it's all about, am I being able to let go? Am I being able to feel it through, take it what it really needs and let go. So I was gonna say something. Yeah. So the sadness, the way it works, so as anger works upwards and fear works downwards, sadness works in dissolving. So when you feel sad, you feel like you're kind of disappearing somehow,
Mhm.
right? Like if you're crying a lot, somehow you start feeling numb, right? It have happened to you. So that's literally what it's happening to you. It's like the chi, it dissolves. That's the actual word, start dissolving. So it start degenerating basically. So if we feel sad for too long, then we are gonna start feeling that we're just disappearing at some point, right? So
Sometimes, so we need that wash, right? Like we need to let old prana out or old energy out to get in new.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, actually, the tears. So we have many ways of detoxing, natural ways to detox, and tears are one of the ways to detox the body in Chinese medicine. Tears, sweat, urine,
Yeah,
right? All these. Yeah, and crying out like what in the moment, as we said, sadness is important when it's in coherence with what's happening to you. But if it happened and you're still sad for the next 3 4 years, then that's when it gets really unbalanced. But
exactly.
yeah, so it's knowing how to manage each emotions and knowing that if you overdo that emotion for too long, then it would eventually affect you, or not doing it as well, right? So for example, if you have so many emotions, so many things you want to release because you haven't been able to release, dissolving them, because when you feel like sadness, you feel like something stuck, something, you know, in your chest that you can't let rid. And the sadness helps to dissolve it, because that's what the chi does in that moment with that emotion. It helps dissolve that emotion that is being stuck there, is not coming out. So that's needed in the moment. But if you over dissolve it, then that's when it start affecting you.
Okay, cool. Last organ, spleen.
Last spleen. So spleen also very, very cool organ. I really like it. It's my body type organ as well. So it's a earth. It's very connected with earth. It's very much material and it's very much human form, right? Like the kidney was like spirit, I want to live, and the liver is just the hun, right? The unconscious. The shen is this beautiful awareness. The lungs and the spleen are very much more uh connected with this physical human reality. So the spleen, it's because it represents earth. So it when we say earth, we say soil, soil, nutrients, nutrients, nourishment. So it's all about nutrients and nourishment that come into our body, right? And the spleen represents the ability. Also, it's very similar to lungs in the way that it's the ability to take in what we need as nourishment and let go what we don't need, right? Kind of similar. So it's the intellect, and it's also called the yi, right? And the yi, it's more of the judgment mind. Oh, this is good for me, that's not good for me. I'm gonna choose this, I'm not gonna choose this. I should go there, I don't need to go there, right? So it's this intellectual mind that is always choosing and thinking for us, right? So usually when people have brain fog, right, or are worried all the time, right, then it would the worriness would just make the chi slow, right? Low, slow. So every time we over worry, then you start feeling like, oh, people start feeling brain fog, right? Because you can't really think, the ideas are not flowing, you can't choose, you can't pick up any ideas and all these things. So we always think that our mind is here, and actually we do it, we touch it a lot, oh, my mind. But really our mind, our intellect, it's right there with our spleen. So it's so interesting how it really works in the body, or based on Chinese medicine. um and it's the one that discernates, is the discernation. So it's very much related with intellectuality. It's the one that makes me be here and teach all the things and learn all the things that I need to learn and be coherent with what I'm saying, right? Like all this, it's made of spleen. That's why when people overwork or are working way too much, their spleen can get depleted, and then they would have good digestion. They can have bloating, a lot of bloating, or they can have problems with their bowel movements, right? They can also have problem with metabolism, right? Gain weight or lose too much weight, right? So they can have yeah, like brain fog and all these things. When you overwork, there's a point that you just can't keep thinking anymore. But it's because we're overdoing it, overrunning it as well. So that's our
I love
beautiful.
that. Um, Also, you do have in the traditional Chinese medicine or in Taoism, you have sounds and frequencies of the different organs, which translates into their energy fields again, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, so we have sounds. I can't remember the sounds right now. I remember I used to do them a lot when I would give sound healing acupuncture. So we would do an organ per session, and we would do the sound and the qigong movement connected with that meridian, with that organ, and it definitely helps a lot. I remember maybe for the heart it was like maybe hum, and actually when you do the
I'm in a program anyway, so people will get to know them.
yeah, so when you do you can feel your heart, right? And I remember there was a ha, someone like, and it's so interesting. Like when you're doing the sounds, you can actually feel the
Yeah.
element, the energy of that sound, and that and it's also that sound and that vowel somehow helps to receive the chi specifically for that organ. Because in Chinese medicine, we also say where attention goes, chi flows, right? So every time we do something with attention, we direct the chi there, right? And that's where we became wizards, and probably that's what you do. You're like, right? Like you're intentionally trying to move the chi somehow in some way to make the best out of it, right? So when we use those channeling tools of sound, it can also connect with that specific organ as well. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And then last but not least, acupuncture, a way to guide and move energy through the body intentionally, which is such a fascination of mine. As you know, Daniela, I'm all
Yeah.
about, oh, explain me more, tell me more. How can we move our energy just with needles, like so precisely to flow through our body? Because we're actually using the, as we say in the South Asian context, nadis, but you call them meridians. But this very precise energy flow, it just fascinates me so much.
Yeah, yeah. I think, well, most of you heard about meridians, are connected with it, or use acupuncture sometime in your life. For us, or the way I start seeing it, it was like we have a machine with our five main organs in the center, and the rest are like cables that are coming through. So sometimes when we get a bulb damage, we don't go directly to the bulb, but we go to the corner of the house to fix that because there's a cable connected to that. And then the bulb will get fixed if we go into that corner. So that's a little bit on how I see it. And sometimes these specific corners have specific functions. So some of them it's to bring the chi down, some of them is to bring the chi up, some of them is to tonify it if it's deficient, and some of them is to reduce if it's excess, right? Because sometimes there's excess of energy. Like for example, anger, it's most known to be excess, right? Brings up circulation way too much up, right? So sometimes we need to reduce. So there are many ways to do this. You can do it with points in the body, with that specific organ meridian point. And you can also do it with the needle. So when we're learning how to do acupuncture, you get to learn also the techniques, how to tonify or reduce, right? So if you like move clockwise, you're probably tonifying. If you do anti-clockwise, you're reducing, right? And then we call that stimulation. And some people do it for like 1 or 2, 3 minutes, right? Or some people just like poke on the needle to activate the chi if the chi is stuck, right? So there are ways to stimulate with the needles, right? And there are also ways to do it with pressure, right? So for example, if I want to, this meridian is the meridian of large intestine, which is also connected with the lungs and with chi, because lungs is connected with chi. So if we want to tonify chi, we can use this point, right? So this point, I don't really need to put a needle to actually activate it. I can also activate it pressing it, right? If I do circles clockwise, I will probably be tonifying. If I do anti-clockwise, I would probably be reducing. That could also work with massage as well, right? So, for example, this point, it's also a point that we use, very important to reduce fire excess, right? So it's the same, like you can just do clockwise or anti-clockwise. So that's how we can be moving the energy, and with that intention, we're going to be driving either downwards or upwards in the body as well. I don't know if it feels clear.
Well, as clear as it can be when you're not like very deeply into the topic, but just knowing that this possibility exists and that we can actually um, guide so much ourselves intentionally, maybe not us, but certified acupuncturist, Chinese medicine doctor, whomever we reach out to help us with a topic that is on the physical level, on the emotional level, on the mental level, spiritual level. It doesn't matter. We actually have so many tools, and I just love to make people aware of that and introduce beautiful people like you who can actually help with that. So, would you like to tell us how one can work with you, how we can reach out if we have any questions?
Yeah, sure. So you can always find me on Instagram if you want to go directly to me, then it's naturally Daniela. And there you'll see my profile and the things that I'm doing. You would in how you call that? The information under my profile. So
Bye.
in my bio, then you'll be able to access my website, which is naturallife.us. And my website, it usually offers mostly detox programs. So most of the things that I do is run detox programs based on the main detox organs in the body, which is liver, gut or large intestine, and lymphatic and kidney, right? So some people go on either or they go on a full body detox using all the three main detox centers. So you can always access there, find all the information, testimonials, what includes pricing, everything. Or if things are not clear, you can always reach out to me. If you want to go more of a personal journey and find out root cause our illnesses and diseases, we can always connect on a private consultation. And I can do that online or live wherever I am in the world, but mostly online works. And then you also have the option to do that in my website as well. So you can book a consultation there. And anyways, you can always reach out to me in private message and just ask me any questions. I'm happy to answer and find ways to give back and give feedback for sure.
Thank you so much. I will link your profile and the website, of course, in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much, Daniela. I
Sure, thank
love
you.
this.
Thank you. I really admire what you do. Like for me, you're like the proper witzer. Like you actually put in action what we talk about. So it's very beautiful the work that you do. Thank you for that as well.
All right. See you soon. Bye
I'll
bye.
see
Take care.
you. Bye. Have a beautiful day over there.
You too.